It allows the ships to go. If we keep bombing, those ships won't be going. And you're talking about 500, 600, 700 million dollars a day. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. That's why the world is okay. It's liquid. It's fine. Also, we run out of reserves in about 4 weeks. You know, there are reserves all over the world, and we would really run out. And there'll be a time when you wouldn't be able to get it. And you want to see bedlam? So for all those so-called geniuses that want to show me how smart they are, ask them why didn't they blow up General Soleimani? Ask that of the general.
Oh my goodness, bedlam. Well, what does bedlam mean? Bedlam refers to a state or scene of uproar, chaos, noisy confusion. It is typically used to describe situations where order has completely broken down, resulting in mass pandemonium or wild disorder. Key details and context: pronunciation, bedlam, pandemonium, chaos, turmoil, commotion or tumult. Usage examples: the streets turned to absolute bedlam after the winning goal was scored in the final seconds of the game. The word historically has a dark, centuries-old history. This is the real connotation. It originated as a popular nickname for the Bethlehem Royal Hospital, a famous psychiatric hospital in London. Psychiatric. Founded in the 13th century. Oh, the 13th. It was one of the first and most notorious mental asylums in Europe. Over time, Londoners shortened the name Bethlehem to Bedlam, and eventually Bedlam. Because of the harsh conditions and the chaotic, uncontrollable behavior of the patients housed there, the name became synonymous with madness, uproar, eventually passing into the English language as a common noun. Insanity, like an insane asylum gone rogue, you know? A little bit like, I've heard people say it'll be like Mad Max. And you know, I remember I used to say that all the time, that I believed, and this was years ago, like 10 years ago or 20, I don't even remember, and I think it was a lot of people used to say that they thought that eventually we were going to go into a Mad Max situation, that the world would end in a Mad Max situation. We had movies that displayed this kind of scenario, this end time scenario where there'd be zombies running around and the dawn of the dead or something, you know. And of course now with the homeless, insane people walking around on drugs where they're drooling, and of course we've got cyber homeless people, you know, people that are hooked up to some Neuralink. I don't even know what could be the future, but I don't think it could get any worse than what we are now. It's like what Jesus said, look, the fields are white for harvest. It's time. A farmer knows when it's time to harvest the field, and this is the end of the world. The harvest is the end of the age, and the angels are the reapers. And so basically, we've got 4 weeks, and that's just maybe a guess. I mean, things are going to get worse before that, because if gas prices reach $10 a gallon, and they're going to go higher than that, bedlam is a transitional orgy of evil that finally reaches a pandemonium point where there will be no way to survive it. When does it get to that point? It might start with just people don't have any food, and the government has these food lines, and everybody's driving to the food lines and standing in line for hours or days. And then it gets to a point where there's people killing and raping and pillaging, and the government has to start rounding people up. They got an excuse. And now if you want food, you got to go to their facility. Right? If you want to eat, you go to the facility, or else you could get raped and pillaged on the street. And that's basically a concentration camp, which is what happened in Germany. People were being brought to these concentration camps, just supposedly detained. But when the Allied bombs hit Berlin and Germany, they didn't have any more food. They couldn't feed them. They were all locked in there. They couldn't let them out. Or I guess they wouldn't let them out because then there'd be a bunch of zombies running around, half-starved, naked people running around the city. They didn't want that. Or maybe the people that were in charge that had the key were dead because of the bombing. But people just died in big heaps. Well, they dug big pits and buried them. Yeah, because when you have thousands of bodies, let alone millions, you cannot just let the dead bodies lie on the street. You've got to bury them. So you get big cats and tractors and backhoes and all of these kinds of things. You dig these pits and you just throw them in there. There's no ceremony. There's probably not even a trumpet or a prayer. Because you're trying to save the people that are still alive. Because after the war murders everybody, then you have the pestilence and the disease that sets in. The famine. Nobody's working. There's no oil. You can't go to the store and get food. People starve. But of course, I believe this is what they're planning, and I can prove it from the scriptures. The Bible says that Babylon is going to fall. And if you want to have some indication as to what this Babylon really is, we've shown you the verse where Jesus said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the killer of the prophets, who stoned those who was sent to them. Upon your hands shall be all the blood of all the prophets from Abel to Zacharias. Well, that same thing is quoted in the book of Revelation concerning Babylon. In Babylon was all the blood of all the prophets. So we know that the Bible is talking about Jerusalem when it's talking about this mystery Babylon. But there's a nuance there that people don't understand. It isn't just the city of Jerusalem. It's the city that has a kingdom over the kings of the earth. And so when Babylon falls, it's an empire. And the city that rules the empire is Jerusalem, or the system. It's kind of symbolic. It's analogous. It's an analogy. It's saying that the whole world is under an empire called Babylon, looking back to this old ancient day when this Babylon confusion was running the world. And of course, Babylon is the first head on this beast. O Nebuchadnezzar, you are the head of gold, which is, in that particular parable, a statue. And at the end, it's got 10 toes. But that's analogous to the beast analogy or parable that Daniel gives later on in chapter 7 and so forth. Because the beast also has these same 4 gradations with, at the end, instead of 10 toes on a statue, it's got 10 horns. It's the same story. And the head of it is Babylon. Well, Zechariah 5, what we've been saying, tells you that when the Jews were taken captive in 587 BCE, they took the royal bloodline of Jeconiah, of Israel, of the Judeans, and they took them to Babylon, and they built for them a house for this woman. The woman is the covenant with Yahweh. They built for her, the covenant of Yahweh, a house in Babylon. And that's why Daniel says Nebuchadnezzar, the czar there, who was a descendant of Solomon and Bathsheba, who was of the royal line of Jeconiah, was the head of gold. And so Babylon is the kingdom of this Yahweh. You get the mark of the beast on your hand or your forehead, which is the law of Moses. And this beast thing keeps going through history. 7 heads, and finally the last head is the Antichrist, the 8th head, which is where we're at. And the 10 horns that are on the beast shall hate the harlot, the Babylon, the system, the city that rules over the kings of the earth. And the Lord himself puts it into their heart to burn her with fire, to destroy her, eat up her flesh, and burn her with fire. So Babylon is this entire beast system, ruled over by the whore or the covenant with Yahweh. So all government, prisons, slavery, the economic system, capitalism, the golden calf, it's all Babylon, which is the system of Judaism. the lineal descendants of Jeconiah that was taken captive into Babylon. So when Babylon falls, it's worldwide. And that is why it says, get out of her, my people, if you don't want to share with her in her sins and partake of her plagues. You understand that the plagues that are coming are the plagues upon the world, not just one city over in Jerusalem or a little place over there called Rome. Some people think it's the papacy or something. It's not one thing here or there. It's the entire world empire system. It includes symbolically, it talks about the people that are in the commerce, the religious aspects. It talks about those that are working at the mill, those that are building, the construction people. It talks about the artists, the musicians, the rich and the poor, the small and the great, everybody in the entire world in this empire. All the people. It uses symbols where it describes the armies of Babylon being destroyed, the commerce, then the armies, the financial institutes of the world, everything in a big conglomerate empire. Because Babylon includes Tyre, Sidon, Egypt, Assyria. All these countries were part of Babylon. And each of these parts had different aspects to it of Babylon. The commerce or the religious part or the political parts or the armies or whatever. And in all of the symbology of Babylon falling, it's all of it. The political, the economic, all of it. That's why there's going to be famine, there's going to be war, and there's going to be pestilence. And the only way to get out of it when Babylon falls is to be no part of her. To have the blood of Christ or the blood of the Lamb on your doorpost, the angels will pass over. And so, in 1 hour, her judgment has come. What does it mean, 1 hour? The hour always talks about the Great Tribulation. It's that last short little season, the 1 hour of her judgment. And that's why the angel says, fear deity and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come. And what happens when the hour of his judgment has come? Well, Babylon falls. How does it happen? Well, there are 10 horns on a beast. It comes up out of the bottomless pit. You've got the Antichrist. And the Lord puts it into their heart. That is Trump. We just showed you these 10 Confederate kings, which is creating this peace initiative, like a UN council that's going to run the world, a confederacy of 10 kings that are creating AI and all of these X departments, like XRP and XLM and XAI. Open AI is X. Did you even know that they've changed the symbol for gold to X? X something X or something? Everything you see an X on it. SpaceX, everything. Twitter with an X is telling you it's part of the New World Order that's going to take over everything. Everything with an X. And they're going to use Solana and Cardano, even though they don't have an X. Because not everything's going to have an X, but the things that are running the world are going to have an X in front of it. And that's the mark, right? An X is you sign your signature, you put an X. It's the curse. It's the mark. It's you're signing your death certificate. That's what it means. The curse, the mark, the cross, the X, the hex. And this is the system. And these 10 kings aren't creating a new world order. What's in their heart that the Lord put there is to eat up her flesh and burn her with fire. The whole world. We got 4 weeks and there will be no more oil. And the President of the United States, there will be bedlam. Well, okay. Maybe it won't be 4 weeks because maybe they'll make a deal for about 2 months and then they'll break the deal. Or maybe the deal will last 1 week. Shall we go take a look and see how long the deal's going to last? It's already fallen apart. Did you see in the news that Russia is burning?
Early today, Russia got hammered by Ukraine, the largest attack on the capital city of Moscow since Russia invaded its neighbor more than 4 years ago. A massive swarm of Ukrainian drones hit a major oil refinery there, among other targets. CBS's Aidan Stretch has details tonight from across the border in Kyiv.
Russia's capital is feeling the reality of war. Ukraine launched more than 1,000 long-range drones toward Moscow, hitting residences and a massive oil refinery for the second time this week, blowing the lid off of a fuel tank and blanketing the city in black smoke. Air travel was shut for hours and defenses overwhelmed. This drone, intercepted by a Russian missile, still caused damage on impact. It was retaliation, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said, for a Russian strike on a nearly 1,000-year-old monastery in Kyiv Monday morning. If Ukraine burns, he said, then your Moscow will burn as well. This was the third large-scale attack on Moscow and St. Petersburg this month, puncturing Vladimir Putin's image of invincibility and bringing the war directly to Russian citizens. Ukraine's military has worked tirelessly for 2 years to develop the weapons needed to strike deep in the heart of Russia. In 2024, Ukraine launched 110 long-range drones. This year, that number's already surpassed 3,000. A Kremlin aide said today that these attacks only complicate the prospect of peace talks.
So, if you noticed on the screen, I've got all these pictures. I went driving yesterday. Those pictures you're seeing, all this beautiful scenery, and it is completely mind-blowing how beautiful it is. But I went to go check because, this whole area should be a national park. I did not show you the half of it. There are spiraling red and white striped pyramidal peaks and cascading cliffs and plateaus and arches. It is breathtaking area. And there's a big lake, Rama Lake, which is probably the most beautiful lake I've ever seen in my life. There are all these birch and aspens around the lake and towering red cliffs. And nobody goes there. It's all off limit to the public. There's no national park. There's nobody. You can't even get there except but a dirt road. But the people that live in there are all Mormons, by the way. It's a Mormon community, and they have these $1 million homes here and there. But for the most part, the only way you can access this lake is to own this property. And you have access to the lake when you purchase this property. There's the phone number. It's $60,000. There is a well on the property. It's about 7 acres. And there are other properties for sale there too. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm sure you could get something even cheaper, but this property has a well. So I'm just showing you how beautiful it is there. And all that you're looking at on this video today, all the pictures, are my drive out there yesterday. This is 23 miles from my house. This is near Rama Lake. If you were to buy property here, you're about 5 miles from Rama, which has a couple of dollar stores, a little cafe, gas station, everything you need there. Post office and so forth. School and that kind of thing. But there you go. If you understand how serious things are, I would say that there are very few places in the world where you will be safe during the tribulation. And I will guarantee you that this is a place, this is a refuge, this area is a refuge, and this is a secluded place. You're 300 miles from any big city, 250 miles from any city. The closest town is Gallup, which is 65 miles, and it's a very small town. There are no cities in the area. A lot of these roads are either dirt or gravel. There is, of course, a main highway that comes through, but it does not lead through this beautiful area that looks like a national park. I guess it is some kind of a monument area or whatever, but there are no tourists. It's just people that live in the area where this property is. It's breathtaking. So, call the number. You could probably finance this property, put a little down. You could maybe get it for $300 or $400 a month. But there's also other properties, a lot of different properties for sale in the area, including where I'm at, over 23 miles away in Candy Kitchen, where I'm at, or El Moro, which is also lovely and beautiful. The whole area is just breathtaking. And this is it's not, well, you see the Rama Lake in the distance, but where you're looking, it's more like a big marsh area, a wildlife refuge, and it's just as green. There's birds and storks and all these things, there, and you can see the cliffs there, and it's even more breathtaking on the other if you pan around. But the whole thing is just so amazing. You can take a canoe, you can go fishing there, you have complete access to this lake, and there's nobody there. Nobody on the lake. If you purchase this land, you have a canoe or a little boat, you can go out there and access this lake and go fishing all by yourself with no tourists, nobody to bother you. And like I said, this is on a dirt road miles off of the main highway. Nobody even knows this exists but you. But this war, this is the beginning of the end. We've got Ukraine, we've got Iran. Basically, it's a two-front war. Russia is trying to win in the Ukraine, and we're trying to win in the Iran, and we can't win Iran because Russia's supplying them with weapons. And they can't win in the Ukraine because we're supplying Ukraine with weapons. And it's a war that is being fought in these other countries, and now it's going to Poland. And Article 4 was just announced, one step above Article 5. Article 4 is when a country, I think it was Poland, goes to the NATO and says, look, they've breached our thing, we need you to help us. Next step is Article 5, and then Europe will be legally bound to fight Russia, and it's already happening. Russia's sending airplanes and bombs and drones into Poland, and Poland's declared Article 4. Now, that's up there, but down here in Iran, we've already bombed the heck out of them. Beginning from last year, we've been having this war. Babylon is falling. I don't know if it will be 4 weeks, but it will be very soon. Within weeks, Babylon is falling. I told you guys the other day, July 2nd, which is about 10 or 11 days from now, July 2nd is when historically the walls of Jerusalem are breached. I believe between now and then, we're going to hit Iran so hard, maybe nuclear, maybe not, but it's going to be so hard that Iran will be gone, at least militarily, and many ways. Buildings, cities will be gone, but yet there'll still be people underground, of course, plotting, because they got to still be there to join with the Gog of Magog. That's the final battle. When Russia comes down and surrounds the holy city, which isn't Jerusalem, it's in America. And we can show you that from the scriptures. These saints that go to the wilderness in the extremity of the earth, in a mountain, in the mountains of Israel, where they've gone in the diaspora, where he gathers the children of Israel in the latter days, in the tops of the heights of the mountains, not Jerusalem. Gog of Magog comes and gathers the world in a great battle against the saints, the camp. It's not some nation state. It's a camp of the saints where they've been dispersed, where they've run, where they've gathered away from all of the Babylon, gotten out of the world. We're going to show you all of this from the scriptures. So this could take weeks, and it's going to last for months, the entire 3.5 years, the short little season, the hour of her judgment. Now, when they surrounded Jerusalem, which is this mystery Babylon, in the type, they breached the walls, and from that point forward, you counted the 1,260 days. And in that 3.5 year period of time, they starved, they had pestilence, there was war, there was famine, and people began to eat their babies. Same thing happened with Babylon when they dried up the rivers of Babylon. That's what's going on, drying up the rivers or the resources of the world, the oil, the money, the cash, the water desalination plants, and all of these things. The nuclear, I just heard that there's a nuclear reactor that's under the ground leaking into the water in the Colorado. Glenn Beck just said we're having a drought. The world's over by 2028 just because of the drought itself. There's no more fertilizer because they get fertilizer from that Iran Strait of Hormuz too, and it's gone. So we haven't been fertilizing it. Next year there will be no crops whatsoever. Gone. Whatever produce, crops, or commodities there are in the world, the government's stealing it. They'll have it all. They'll put it underground in some bunker, and they'll only allow you to have that food if you get the mark of the beast or agree to their system. And they are going to be lying. They get you to sign a paper, they can murder you. Oh, please just sign right here our agreement, and then, you'll be fine. And people will go and sign the agreement to get food, and then they'll be betrayed. The only way out of this situation is to get out of Babylon, that you might not share in her sins and partake of her plagues. I guarantee you that beyond any doubt. We've got weeks. And if they make an agreement and it goes further, it won't be but months, and they're going to break that agreement. There's going to be war. Russia just issued a nuclear threat to the United States and said, we will burn you with fire. And they are holding off. It was like, it's like World War II, World War I. There was talk of war, people trying to figure out a way to make an agreement, but eventually it led to war. And at some point, they usually do a red flag, and that's what happens. And the red flag will be the destruction of Jerusalem, pretty much, or the red heifer or something. This is going on. It's about to happen any second. We're not talking about months or years. We're talking about days to weeks. And like I said, if precedents matter at all, which I believe scripturally they do, and just legally they do, that's how they like to operate. They do things on certain dates. They're planning the whole thing. It's a theater of war. And so this particular breaching of the walls of Jerusalem that's happened several times in the history of this world has always happened on this particular date that this year comes out to July 2nd. AI says July 2nd corresponds to the 17th of Tammuz, 5786 on the Hebrew calendar. That's the date that they give it because they're missing a bunch of years. But yes, this is the date traditionally associated with the breach of the walls of Jerusalem, though its historical significance for the two breaches is slightly nuanced. The second temple breach, 70 CE, the 17th of Tammuz, is the exact date that the Romans under General Titus breached the walls of Jerusalem, which led to the destruction of the second temple 3 weeks later on the 9th of Av. The first temple breach, 586 BCE. According to the Talmud, the walls of Jerusalem were breached twice. However, regarding the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians, the book of Jeremiah states that the walls were breached on the 9th of Tammuz. Rabbinic tradition reconciles this by noting that in latter generations, calamities occurred so closely together that the fast of the 17th of Tammuz was adopted to cover both tragedies. See, this is when they begin to start fasting in preparation for the real event in the latter days when they're going to be destroyed. Because of these events, the 17th of Tammuz is marked as the minor fast day, Zom Tammuz, and the beginning of the 3 weeks, a concentrated period of mourning that culminates on the 9th of Av. Now, if it culminates then I suspect that the whole city of Jerusalem or the whole country is going to be completely destroyed by that time. This is how it works. Jesus died on Passover to fulfill it. And all these other times were types and shadows. The great fulfillment of the destruction of the world, the beginning of the end, the last hour of her judgment begins probably on this date, one of these two dates. And obviously would begin on the 2nd of July this year. Something will probably happen. I suspect something will happen even before that, between now and then, where Trump will attack Iran or something. And then Iran, backed by Russia, China, will probably hit Jerusalem somehow on the 2nd of July. This is a guess. We don't know that it'll be this year. But look around, guys. I think it will be. It's just a guess, though. So I suspect that we're going to hit Iran between now and then. Not then, but between now and then. And then Russia will hit back, because we'll hit Iran hard in the next few days. And Russia will hit back, and they're going to hit Israel. I don't know if there'll be an Israel left after July. But that's just a theory, but I think it's a pretty good one. But think about all of this in context. The whole thing that we're waiting for, the coming of Christ, is preceded by the fall of Babylon, another way of saying the harvest, the hour of her judgment, the plagues that come, and they still wouldn't repent, as it says in Revelation, and they sent more plagues and they still wouldn't repent. And it says that those who had the mark of the beast hid themselves in the caves of the rocks of the mountains, saying, hide us from the one who's coming. The hour of her judgment is the great tribulation. It's the last little season when the devil comes up out of the bottomless pit. When does the Antichrist come up out of the bottomless pit? Well, when he does, he has 1,260 days to act, to wear out the saints of the Most High, to speak blasphemies, to get together with the 10 kings and burn her with fire, for the hour of her judgments arrived. So this destruction of Babylon is it. It's the hour of the judgment. And the plagues that are coming are the plagues from the Lord. The world will be completely destroyed. The Lord puts it into their hearts, the 10 kings, to burn her with fire, eat up her flesh and burn her with fire. And at the end of that 3.5 years is the great battle of Armageddon, which is Gog of Magog, which everybody historically says is Russia, Iran, Egypt, Turkey, Togomar, all of these areas have a confederacy, and they surround the camp of the saints. But what people don't realize is it's not that Jerusalem over there, which is not the saints. Any Christian knows they're not the saints. You see, the reason that Gog of Magog goes out to gather the kings of the earth to have a war with Christ isn't to have a war with the beast system. The Antichrist is the son of Yahweh. It is the one who gets a mark on the hand of the forehead, which makes you keep the law. It is Nebuchadnezzar, the head of the beast, the kingdom of Babylon. It has 7 heads, 10 horns. The 10 horns are the final kings upon Babylon. And the city, or the whore, is the great city that has a kingdom over the kings of the earth, is Jerusalem. We've proven that. You can prove that to yourself. So this is the last hour. This is it. The plagues that are coming, if you're a Christian, that's the wrath. The plagues are the bowls of wrath. And if you're a Christian, there is no condemnation in those who walk after Christ. And we're not appointed unto the wrath. He'll keep us from the 10 days of trial. But only what? If you get out of Babylon, my people, so that you do not share with her in her sins and partake of her plagues, or the wrath that's coming, that was poured out upon her. For she poured out wrath upon us. Now have no mercy, because do unto her as she did unto them, as she did to the world, the Bible says. Pour out upon her and all those who are partaking with her in her sins, who are in Babylon, who haven't gotten out of the world. They'll all partake of her sins. You got to have the white robe to get through this. The white robe is through faith, it is your righteousness. Simply by believing and choosing the covenant of Christ, where you don't blame and judge anybody, but you let the Lord do the judging. We don't go to war. We don't defend ourselves. We simply get out. We go into the mountains, flee into the mountains, and don't look back. And don't come down off the housetop to get something out of your house. Because most of you haven't prepared. You're not in the wilderness. So you're going to have to go at the last moment. And if you have to go at the last moment, you're going to have to just take the clothes on your back and go. You got to go where? Well, I'm going to show you that it's the Rocky Mountains. It's here in America. Now, this is probably going to surprise you, but this is what the Bible says. Now, first of all, I want to start with Isaiah chapter 2. And I want you to notice as we go through here that we're not taking any of this out of context. We're going to go through Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all of the prophets, Hosea, the New Testament prophets like Revelation. We're going to go through Daniel, but all of them have one theme. And all of it, if you read the context and understand all of these prophecies, squarely say that it's not the Jerusalem that's over there. Because he has indignation upon Babylon, their Babylon. But his people have gone somewhere to the extremity of the earth. Remember Isaiah 48, beautiful for situation, the glory of all the earth is Mount Zion. Go about, count her towers, her bulwarks. All right. Where is this place that is in the north? As we said, if you go directly from where we're saying Israel was in Egypt, it doesn't really matter if you put it in Jerusalem, but in the Middle East over there, and you draw a line straight north, you go right to America in the Rocky Mountains. That's the place that is north. And it's also the extremity of the earth, the furthest distance or the ends of the earth. So let's start with Isaiah chapter 2. It says, the word that Isaiah the son of Amoz saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days, that's our days, that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains. These are the mountains or the places that all the world has gone to, and all the different mountains of the world, or the kingdoms of the world. And in the top of all of these mountains, the Lord's house shall be established. Above the other hills, and all the nations shall flow unto it. Now, just looking at this purely from an historical point of view, you note that America has the ensign, bring you're hungry, you're tired, you're homeless, or whatever. And it's liberty and justice for all. It's under the banner of Christ. And all the nations have flowed unto it. And the fulfillment, complete fulfillment of that prophecy is yet to come. And it says in verse 3, and many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the deity of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways. We will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. But this isn't the same Jerusalem, as you'll see. It's a new Jerusalem that they built, or they're going to build. He's going to stretch out the tent cords. We'll see as we go along. He will judge among the nations and shall rebuke many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, come ye and let us walk in the light of the Lord. So, look at verse 10. Enter into the rock and hide thee in the dust for the fear of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, the haughtiness of the men shall be bowed down. The Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, upon the cedars of Lebanon, upon the oaks of Bashan, and all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, all the nations of the world, upon every high tower, the cities, upon every fenced wall, the fortified places of the world, upon all the ships of Tarshish, and all the pleasant pictures. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down. This is the great time of trouble that we're about to go through. The haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. The idols shall be utterly be abolished, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for the fear of the Lord. Now remember, that's where Jesus quotes. When Jesus quotes one little verse somewhere, and you go back and find what he was quoting from, then you can apply the entire thing to what Jesus was saying. So in Matthew 24, Luke 21, where Jesus is saying, or in Revelation, where this is quoted, they're all interconnected. When the nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, food shortages and earthquakes and pestilences and all this begins to happen, then they shall go into the holes of the rocks and in the caves of the earth and hide themselves for the fear of the Lord. And notice says, when he arises to shake terribly the earth. That's why Jesus said there shall be earthquakes in one place after another, because that word is seismic activity, a shaking. The Apostle Peter talks about that there will be a great shaking, and the only thing that will be left remaining is the kingdom of the Lord during this time. And in that day a man shall cast his idols and silver and his gold, which they made for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats. And they'll go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty. See, the elite are making bunkers underground to try and hide, but they're not going to be able to hide from the Lord. When the Lord arises to shake terribly the earth, cease from man whose breath is in his nostrils, wherein is he to be accounted of. See, don't trust in man. Don't trust in Trump. Don't trust in the governments of man. Now, this might sound a little vague to you, but if we keep reading and listen to the terminology, you'll begin to get familiar with it, and you'll begin to see this is talking about the children of the Lord that have gotten out of Babylon, and they're in the Rocky Mountains at the extremity, at the ends of the earth, which is Mount Zion. They've stretched out the tent cords of Zion and made them strong, and they're now prospering. Because remember, this is the blessing of Joseph, who will become a branch by a well that will go over the wall and become a multitude, will go over the wall and prosper because of the dew of heaven. Remember we were talking about yesterday, the heavens shall be opened and will be blessed. Well, that's the blessing that comes upon Joseph, who had the coat of many colors, he was the head of all the 10 lost tribes that will show up in the latter days at the ends of the earth in the mountains of Zion. And we'll show you some more verses here. Here's Isaiah 54. It says, sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife. You see, Jerusalem over there think they're married to Yahweh, and they're the ones that's going to be blessed. But there is more of the desolate woman than the barren woman. Well, Christ was the one who was born by a miracle, and it's the seed of Christ that will be more and be blessed. Enlarge the place of the tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitations. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. For thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left, and thy seed shall inherit the Gentiles, and make the desolate cities to be inhabited. So we're talking about the nations, all the nations, Japanese, Chinese, Africans, Europe, all around the world in the mountains at the extremities of the earth. They will inherit the Gentiles. And see, this is something that Christianity could never really grasp. They say, well, it's spiritual. We're spiritual Israel. So if you're in Christ, we get all these promises that were made to Israel. Well, they used to believe that, but Christians today don't. Now they're going back to, well, we got to go back to these old prophecies and make it all make sense with this literal Israel over there. That, by the way, isn't even really Israel. It's some imposter. But they don't realize that it's both literal and spiritual, because we literally are the seed of Israel by means of being the seed, which is Christ. We fulfill it. And we are the 10 tribes that were lost into all the world, planted like seed, that in the end, there they shall be the sons of the living deity, all redeemed in Christ. And it says, fear not for them, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither shalt thou be confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame. So Israel will be saved. As it says, Hosea, I planted you like seed, but in the latter days you are not my people. There shall be the sons of the living God. In all the world, on the mountains of Israel, plural. For thou shalt not forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood any more. For thy Maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, that's Jesus, the deity of the whole earth shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou wast refused, saith the Lord. For a small moment I have forsaken thee, that's during the tribulation, but with a great mercies I will gather thee. Because all the saints will be gathered. They'll be gathered to the mountain of the Lord, and law shall go forth from Zion. Where is that? It's in the north, the extremity of the earth. Psalms 48. It's not in this place called Palestine. So, in a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. In other words, just like it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the days of the Son of Man. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed. But, remember, Psalms 91, thousands that are left hand, thousands that are right, but it'll not come nigh unto us. Right, because we're in the mountains. We're not over there in the Middle East. We're not part of Babylon or the system. We've gotten out of it, and we're in the mountains, in the camp of the saints. And he's gathered all the people around the world that he wants, the 144,000, to gather in the Rocky Mountains. And my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord, that hath mercy on thee. O thou afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted, behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires. What is the foundation? What is the city of the Lord? Count her towers thereof. Go and look at her bulwarks. We're the living stones. Well, Peter tells you in the book of Revelation, we're living stones being built up a spiritual priesthood to be inhabited by spirit. We are the 144,000 of living stones in the mountains of Zion at the extremities of the earth. And that's why our stones are colors like sapphires. And I will make thy windows of agates and thy gates of carbuncle and all the borders of a pleasant stones. Revelation 21 tells you the same thing. And all of thy children shall be taught of the Lord. The Jewish people do not know the Lord Jesus. It's not about them. And great shall be the peace of thy children. In righteousness shalt thou be established, and shalt be far from oppression. For thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. Behold, thou shalt surely gather together, but not by me. Remember, that's the gathering that we pray for, the gathering thy people. That's what the people today call the church, right? Forsake not the gathering of thyself together, as you see the day drawing near. It's not talking about church. It's talking about gathering unto the mountains of the Lord in Mount Zion at the extremities of the earth. Whoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. See, you got to gather. If you don't gather, you don't make it. Those who will come against us because they're going to surround the camp of the saints, they're going to fall for our sake. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth the instrument for this work. And I have created the waster to destroy. See, the Antichrist was created by the Lord to destroy. That's his job. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Remember this verse we always quote, like, oh, no weapon shall prosper against me. Well, this is talking about the great tribulation, the saints in the Rocky Mountains. And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. As long as you're with the saints in the Rocky Mountains, nothing can happen to you. Not one hair of your head shall be harmed. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. Well, let's continue on here. Isaiah 41. Keep silence before me, O islands, and let the people renew their strength. Let them come near, let them speak. Let us come near together to judgment. This is the great day of judgment. Who raised up the righteous man from the east, called him to his foot, gave the nations before him, and made him rule over kings. He gave them as the dust to the sword, and as driven stubble to his bow. He pursued them and passed safely, even by the way, that he had not gone with his feet. Who hath wrought and done it, calling the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, the first, and with the last I am he. Well, who is that? We talked about this the other day, but we're talking about somebody, the only begotten of the Father. Who is he? Well, is he just Jesus? No, he's the head and the tail. He is the root and the offspring. He is everything in between, the first and the last, meaning everybody. If you've done it unto one of these least, of my brethren, you've done it unto me. So you and I are this Lord, oh, the holy sacred name, the I am. Say it, I am. Who? I am. Who? I am. I am the first. Who are you? I am the first. I am the last. I am everything in between. I am the divine being who is in all, through all, and above all, and I am begotten of the Lord. I am not the flesh. I haven't forgotten who I am. I am the heir of all things. I am the son of the living deity. You see, this is why no one has ever understood the Bible, because they've been told not to apply these great promises to themselves, that you might partake of the blessing of these promises. So the first and the last, that's in the book of Revelation. It is the Christ, the head of this entire thing. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus, who is the head of the body. We're all many members of one body. It says in Revelation, that's Jesus Christ. The isles of the sea saw it and feared. The ends of the earth were afraid. They drew near and came. They helped everyone his neighbor, and everyone said to his brother, be of good courage. What? All the world's going to flock to a place on this earth and gather. And everyone his neighbor will help his neighbor gather. And they will take them, their brothers, and they will come. Where? So the carpenter encouraged the goldsmith, and he that smootheth with the hammer, him that smote the anvil, saying, it's ready for the soldering, and he fasteth it with nails, that it should not be moved. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen. Not Jews, all of Israel, the lost tribes on the mountains of Israel, the seed of Abraham, my friend. My friend? Where did I hear that before? Oh yeah, Jesus said, I'm not your master. A servant doesn't know what his master is doing. And I have told you everything I do. And I don't call you my slaves. I call you my friends. We are the friend of the Lord. You see? We're his friends. Thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant. I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy deed. I will strengthen thee. I will help thee. I will uphold thee with thy right hand of my righteousness. See, the Lord's going to bring all of the righteous, whoever they might be, the elect, and they're going to gather into the mountains of Israel at the extremities of the earth, in the most extreme north direction away from Heliopolis. Behold, all they that were incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded. They shall be as nothing, and they that strive with thee shall perish. Thou shalt seek them, and shalt not find them, even that contend with thee. They that war against thee shall be as nothing, and as a thing of naught. For I, the Lord thy deity, will hold thy right hand, saying unto thee, fear not, I will help thee. Guys, don't be afraid as long as you go with the Lord, as long as you get out of Babylon. Fear not, thou worm, Jacob. That's all of us. We're this mortal body corrupt thing. We're dying, but we don't need to fear, because the Lord's going to help us. He's our Redeemer. That's the Lord Jesus. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains, plural, and beat them small. Shalt make the hills as chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. See, most people cannot understand any of this, because they're not familiar enough with all these verses. They don't understand that Israel was scattered first. They went to the mountains, to the extremities of the earth. But when they're gathered to one place, Mount Zion, which is also at an extreme place in the north, the extremity of the north. But where they're scattered is the extreme places, or the ends of the earth, many different mountains. So Japan, China, Africa, Europe, America, all of these are the ends of the earth from the Middle East. That's where they're scattered, planted like seed. But in the last days, they're all going to be gathered. Where? to Mount Zion, and will prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt. The Lord's going to do a marvelous work and a wonder. That's what he calls it, a marvelous work and a wonder. And the Mormons think that they're doing the work, you see. For like 200 years, they've been gathering all these highfalutin politicians and rich, I don't know, underground base leaders and aircraft for the CIA and all. They're the elite, right? No, they're fooling themselves. Joseph Smith said specifically that they would apostate and that the true gathering would take place. They would have all things common. They would live and have all things common to live the law of the United Order, which the Mormons do not do. And unless you do that, you're not the saints. And he pointed to where they would gather, and it would all take place in the last days, the very last time, the days of judgment. He'll gather his people in the Rocky Mountains and build up Zion, and not literally building the temple, but with the living stones of the anointed. The seed of Jacob will be scattered to the extremities of the earth. And thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shall glory in the Holy One of Israel. When the poor and the needy shall seek water, and there is none, and their tongue faileth for thirst, I, the Lord, will hear them. I, the deity of Israel, will not forsake them. That's during the tribulation. We will be saved in the mountains of Israel. I will open the rivers in high places, and fountains in the midst of the valleys, and I'll make the wilderness a pool of water. Not there in Jerusalem, but out there in the wilderness where we're going to be going. And we're going to be protected. He's going to make a pool of water in the wilderness. And the dry land will spring with water. You guys, some of you are like, oh, I wouldn't go where you're at, Dave. It's dry over there. There's no water. There's no rivers. Well, it's going to be. He's going to make, in the wilderness, where we go, he's going to make it says in Psalms 23, he's going to provide a table for us in the wilderness. And here it says that he's going to give us springs of water. I think the blossoming of the earth is going to start while we're in the wilderness. And it says, I will set in the desert the fir tree. Oh, he's already done that. And the pine and the box tree together, that they may see and know and consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord hath done this, and the Holy One of Israel hath created it. Then we go to Jeremiah chapter 31, the same time that the Lord will be the deity of the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. Thus saith the Lord, the people which were of the sword found grace, and in the wilderness they found grace. Even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. The Lord hath appeared of old unto me, saying, Yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore with loving kindness I have drawn thee. Again I will build thee, and thou shalt be built, O Virgin of Israel. Thou shalt again be adorned with the tabrets, and shall go forth in the dance of them that make merry. Oh, we're going to be happy. We're going to be dancing, right? Thou shalt yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. It's the same as the mountains, plural, of Israel. Samaria is another word that is interchangeable with Israel. So upon the mountains, or the kingdoms that are in the extremities of the earth, the planter shall plant, and shall eat them as common things. For there shall be a day that the watchman upon the mount of Ephraim shall cry. Remember, Ephraim's the son of Joseph. That's the one who gets the blessings of a multitude of nations, a great multitude. And he sees them standing around his throne, wearing white robes, who have come through the great tribulation and washed them in the blood of the Lamb. Because the great multitude shall stream unto the mountain in the latter days, up to Mount Zion. Arise, and let us go up to Mount Zion, unto the Lord our deity. For thus saith the Lord, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Lord, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coast of the earth. And see, all these people around the islands of the earth, around the extremities of the earth, will be gathered somewhere to Mount Zion. And gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the women with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. They're with child because they're going to bring forth the kingdom. And they shall come with weeping, and with supplications I will lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein there shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Yeah, we're the church of the firstborn. Hear the word of the Lord, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off. And say, he that scattereth Israel will gather him, and keep him, as a shepherd doth his flock. You see, we've done the scattering. When is the gathering going to happen? Well, what we just said a minute ago. We're supposed to pray and gather even more as you see the day drawing near. The great gathering is when the day is near. During the tribulation, he's going to gather us. And you'll see this as we go along in some other verses. For the Lord hath redeemed Jacob, and has ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, in the height, and shall flow together to the goodness of the Lord, for wheat and for wine and for oil, and for the young of the flock and of the herd. And their soul shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all. See, sometimes it's a little vague as to where this place is that we're going to be gathered, but there are verses that I'm about to show you that's not vague at all. It tells you exactly where we're going to be gathered. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young man and old together. For I will turn their mourning into joy. I will comfort them and make them rejoice for their sorrow. And I will satiate the soul of the priest with fatness, and thy people shall be satisfied with the goodness, saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah. His voice will be heard in Ramah. I live in Ramah, 23 miles from the little town of Ramah and Ramah Lake. Well, these pictures I was showing you is Ramah. Yeah, there was bitter weeping in Ramah, Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not. Thus saith the Lord, refrain thy voice from weeping and thine ear from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded. Come here, and you'll be rewarded, saith the Lord, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy to Ramah. You see, Ramah comes from Ram, which means the exalted high point, which is the height of Zion. And by the way, that height, that cliff that is called Ramah there, that's a peak in the Rocky Mountains. It is within a few miles of the continental divide of the United States in the Rocky Mountains. And it is in the heights. And it is Zion. It was actually Mormon settlers in 1882 that named that town and that lake Ramah. So they named it after the city in the book of Joshua, which is Ramah. I guess it's where it's a place in Benjamin. Originally, they had called it Navajo, which is also interesting because I have another etymological connection of that word Navajo to the Nahal, which is the Nephites of the Book of Mormon. I don't want to go too deeply into that connection here today, but that little place over there was originally called Navajo, and then they named it in 1882 Ramah, probably by divine providence, because Ramah means the height, and since it's here in the Rockies, it's appropriately named the height of the mountain of Zion. Originally, before the Mormons ever got here, the Native Americans called it Teochany, which I guess means a place of wild onions, because there's wild onions that grow all over that area. We got wild onions out here. Ho, buddy! So we ain't going to run out of onions, I guarantee you. But this, to me, these Zuni Indians and the Navajo that live in this area, I live literally at the headquarters. There's like 4 headquarters for the Navajo Nation. Where we live here is literally the headquarters of the Ramah Navajo Nation, and just a few miles from the Navajo headquarters, and a few miles east of the Zuni headquarters. And we're not far from the Hopi and the Apache and all the other native Indians that were here originally that were called the Nahuatl or the Navajo. So it's very interesting. But Jeremiah says, and there is hope in thine end, saith the Lord, that thy children shall come again to their own border. I have surely heard Ephraim, who's going to be a branch that goes over the wall to the extremities of the world and be a great multitude, right? And I was chastised as a bullock accustomed to the yoke. Remember, the great multitude is the fulfillment of the promise to Joseph Ephraim, that his bow would go over the wall, I should say, and be fruitful and become a great multitude of nations that no man could number. So that's why it says in Revelation, I see the great multitude, they have come out of great tribulation and have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. So they were chastised as a bullock accustomed to the yoke. You see, the Lord chastised them because they were his children, and he chastises or disciplines those whom he loves. Turn thou me, and I shall be turned, for thou art the Lord my deity. Surely after that I was turned, I repented, and after that I was instructed. I smote upon my thigh. I was ashamed, ye even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels are troubled for him. I shall surely have mercy upon him, saith the Lord. Set thee up waymarks, make thee high heaps. Remember, guys, the mounds, and everybody's trying to figure out who the mound builders were. Well, we talked about that the other day when we were talking about the Israelites that went over the Caucasus Mountains, went into Europe, and they built the mounds, the Celts, and they came to America. They're the mound builders. And this is the highway. So it says, make thee a high heap, and thy heart toward the highway, even the way which thou wentest. So you can find where they went, where the children of Israel went, by looking and finding their heaps or their mounds where they were along the highway. Guys, I think this is the most beautiful, amazing information that I could even imagine hearing. It is music, literally, to my ears, to know this amazing information. Let's go on to another verse. Okay, here's Ezekiel 17. The word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle, and speak a parable unto the house of Israel. Say, Thus saith the Lord deity, Great eagle with great wings, long-winged, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came unto Lebanon, and took the highest branch of the cedar. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic. He set it in the city of merchants. He took also of the seed of the land, and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by the great waters, and set it as a willow tree. And it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature, whose branches turned toward him, and the roots thereof were under him. So it became a vine, and brought forth branches, and shot forth sprigs. There was also another great eagle with great wings, and many feathers. And behold, this vine did bend her roots toward him, and shot forth her branches toward him, that he might water it by the furrows of her plantation. It was planted in a good soil by great waters, that it might bring forth branches, that it might bear fruit, that it might be a goodly vine. Say thou, Thus saith the Lord deity, Shall it prosper? Shall he not pull up the roots thereof, and cut off the fruit thereof, that it wither? Ye, behold, being planted, shall it prosper? Shall it not utterly wither? When the east wind toucheth it, it shall wither in the furrows where it grew. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Say now to the rebellious house, this is Jerusalem, Know ye not what these things mean? Tell them, Behold, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem. He taketh the king thereof, and the princes thereof, and led them to Babylon, and hath taken of the king's seed, and made a covenant with him, and hath taken an oath of him, and hath also taken the mighty of the land, that the kingdom might be base, that it might not lift itself up, but that by keeping his covenant it might stand. But he rebelled against him, and sending his ambassadors into Egypt, that they might give him horses and much people. Shall it prosper? Shall it escape that doth such things? Or shall he break the covenant and be delivered? As I live, saith the Lord deity, surely in the place where the king dwelleth, that made him king, whose oath he despised, and whose covenant he brake, even him in the midst of Babylon, he shall die. Neither shall Pharaoh with his mighty army and great company make for him in the war by casting up mounts and building forts to cut off many persons, seeing he despised the oath by breaking the covenant. When lo, he had given his hand and hath done all these things, he shall not escape. Therefore thus saith the Lord Deity, as I live, surely mine oath that he hath despised, my covenant that he hath broken, even it will I recompense upon his own head. And I will spread my net upon him, and he shall be taken in my snare, and I will bring him to Babylon, and will plead with him there for his trespass. And he hath trespassed against me. And all his fugitives with all his hands shall fall by the sword, and they that remain shall be scattered toward all the winds, and ye shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken it. Thus saith the Lord, I will also take of the highest branch of the high cedar, and I will set it. I will crop off from the top of its young twigs a tender one. I will plant it upon the high mountain and emit it, which is Zion. In the mountain of the height of Israel will I plant it, and it shall bring forth boughs and bear fruit and be a goodly cedar. And under it shall all fowl of every wing, in the shadow of the branches thereof shall they dwell. And all the trees of the field shall know that I, the Lord, have brought down the high tree and have exalted the low tree, have dried up the green tree and have made the dry tree to flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken it and I've done it. So what is the high tree? That's Babylon. That's this worldly world. The world that we're in today that's evil. The low tree is the little branch that the Lord planted in the mountains of Israel at the extremity of the earth. Psalms 48. In the north, at the extremities of the earth, in the wilderness, where he's going to make the waters break out. All right, let's show you that. Let's find out exactly where they're going to be gathered. All right, look at Isaiah 18. This will blow your mind. Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Now, not only is it giving you the direction, the actual names of the places and how to find this land, it says it's shadowing with wings, which could mean two different things, and equally so, both things. The United States literally looks like a bird with outstretched wings. If you look at South America, it's the wing on the left side. If you look at North America, it's the right side of the bird. And many have noticed that North and South America looks like an eagle with outstretched wings. Not only that, but our symbol here in America is the eagle. The eagle, the bird with outstretched wings. So that's very interesting to start with. Now, while many have understood this prophecy and have pointed this out, there are books that are written about this. One of the most amazing books, if you want to read it, is called A Marvelous Work and a Wonder, which is an old book that's out of print, but you could look it up. It's a beautiful, amazing, amazing book. But, you see, nominal Christians have never been able to really understand the Bible, let alone this verse, because it throws them, it says, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Well, at the time that this was written, this meant Africa. Ethiopia today is a little country over there in Africa. But Ethiopia used to be the name they used for the entire Africa. And beyond the rivers, and it's not even the word river, it's the word water. And it referred to the ocean of Ethiopia. And that ocean off the coast of the west coast of Africa is called the Ocean of Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Ocean at that time. And the waters beyond the waters of Ethiopia is beyond the Straits of Gibraltar, the Gates of Hercules. It's where the Atlantic Ocean is today, but part of that ocean around Africa was called the Ethiopian Ocean. And so if you go over the Atlantic, the original Atlantis, you go to a place that sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters, saying, Go ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and peeled, to a people terrible from their beginning hitherto, a nation meted out and trodden down, whose land the rivers have spoiled. This land beyond the rivers of the Atlantic has been spoiled with these rivers. They're a terrible nation. Not bad, terrible, but ferocious, awe-inspiring. They were scattered. Who is the nation that are scattered in all the world? From their beginning, they're terrible. That's Israel, and it will say that literally here in a second. So it says, all ye inhabitants of the world and the dwellers on earth, see ye when he lifteth up the ensign on the mountains, plural. And when he bloweth a trumpet, hear ye. That is a prophecy about America. And it literally has to do with the trumpets in the latter days. The trumpets are blasting. Fear deeding, give him glory. The hour of judgment has come, and this is the ensign that's standing. Blow ye a trumpet, right? It's the time of the last moment of human history. The trumpet was blown, the angels are declaring it, and now we need to go forth and gather unto the Lord. It's not the last trumpet that's being spoken of here. At the last trumpet, Christ comes on the clouds of heaven. But this is when the trumpets begin to sound. Make yourself ready. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion. Huh? Everybody always thought Zion was over there in Jerusalem, but it never says that. Zion is at the extremities of the earth. Psalms 48 says it's in the north at the most extreme place in the world. It's the city of the grand king, Mount Zion. And when the trumpet is blown in Zion, the whole world will pay attention at the latter day. And Lady Liberty, the ensign, saying, bring your tired and your hungry. For so the Lord said unto me, I will take my rest. I will consider in my dwelling place like a clear heat upon herbs, and like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. Remember, all this is together as one prophecy. Every prophecy is one. And it starts from when the blessing was given to Joseph, who was a vine that is by a well that grows and goes over the wall of humanity's barrier and goes to the extremities of the earth and becomes fruitful and becomes a great multitude of nations. And this isn't just all the nations at the extremities of the earth. It is, in a sense, because that's where they went. They went to China, Africa, all over. But all those people in the latter days then are gathered to America when he sets up the ensign. For afore the harvest, when the bud is perfect, and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he shall both cut off the sprigs with the pruning hooks, and take away and cut down the branches. And they shall, that's talking about his garden that goes over the wall and blossoms, is fruitful. The Lord's going to make it fruitful and trim the branches and make it grow good and give it water. So he cuts off the sprigs and with the pruning hooks. In other words, the vine of the Lord is going to be pruned. And anybody who's not in the vine, Jesus is the vine. If you're not in the vine, you're going to get pruned. You're going to get cut off. And you're going to be cut down. But the pure vine of the Lord shall prosper. And those who get cut off will be left together unto the fowls of the mountains, unto the beasts of the earth. The fowl shall summer upon them, and the beasts of the earth shall winter upon them. And verse 7, but in that time shall the present be brought unto the Lord of a host of people, scattered and peeled. That's the scattered nations of the 10 lost tribes. And from a people terrible from their beginning hitherto, a nation meted out and trodden underfoot, whose land the rivers have spoiled, to the place of the name of the Lord of hosts, the Mount Zion. Well, where is this Mount Zion? Once you understand the language here, it's the same language you see in Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and in the book of Psalms. Psalms is so beautiful, and we're going to go to Psalms now to find out just where this Mount Zion is. That we just read is they're going to be gathered. This nation that's scattered are going to end up being gathered where? To the place of the name of the Lord of hosts, the Mount Zion. Where is that? Psalms 48. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our deity, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. Remember, this is the city, it's the holy city, built with spiritual stones. It's the elect, the 144,000. That's the city. The nations, the great multitude, will be gathered to it, to America, in the latter days. And the prophet Joseph Smith said that the nation said that the Constitution will be hanging by a thread, but will be upheld by the saints in the area where he pointed on a map, which is right here where I'm at, on the Arizona-New Mexico border, which is also called Far West Missouri. And Mormons don't understand this today, because Missouri, at that time, when Joseph Smith was talking about Far West Missouri, he was using the word in the mountains, Mount Zion. And it was the territory of Missouri. It wasn't a little state that we have today of Missouri. They named that little town over there Far West Missouri today, but they named it after the fact. It wasn't the name of a town. He meant Far West territory of Missouri, which Missouri went all the way to the Rocky Mountains. And where I'm at right here in the Rocky Mountains, which is exactly north from Heliopolis on the map, because we're not on a round globe, we're on an infinite plane. But if you just go due north from Heliopolis, you come right out to where we're at here. And so it's beautiful for situation. It's the joy of the whole earth. Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. And the word sides there means the extreme, the ends, the opposite side, the far end of the north. For deity is known in her palaces for a refuge. It's a refuge. For lo, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. What kings? This is Gog of Magog that goes and surrounds the camp of the saints at the extremity of the earth. For lo, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. They saw it. So they marveled. They were troubled and hasteth away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail. It's that travailing of the kingdom of the Lord, the woman that travails and gives birth to the kingdom. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. The ships of Tarshish are the ships of Spain. Go look it up. The east wind goes west to America. As we have heard, so we have seen. In the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our deity. Deity will establish it forever. We have thought of thy loving kindness, O deity, in the midst of thy temple, which is the 144,000, the elect building stone, built as a temple to inhabit by spirit. According to thy name, O deity, so is thy praise unto the ends of the earth. Thy right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Judah be glad because of thy judgments, which is the judgments of the last hour of the judgment has arrived. Walk about Zion, go round about her. Tell the towers thereof. Who are the towers? It's the saints, the 144,000, the princes in all the earth. Mark ye well her bulwarks. Consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generation that is to come, which is our generation. For this deity is our deity forever and ever, which is Jesus. He will be our guide even unto death. One more verse, and I think we'll end it there, guys. All right, Revelation chapter 20. I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. When was the devil bound? Well, Christ died on a cross and went into hell and conquered Satan and got the keys of death and Hades. That's death. The one who has the power of death was bound. And the 1,000 years, according to Peter, is that period of time that the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. So his kingdom, his second coming, won't come for 1,000 years, because Christ is going to reign with his saints for 1,000 years. We're the stewards that he tells us to go out and feed the hungry and clothe the naked, preach the gospel. And there will also be wicked stewards. And when he returns the second time, It's his visitation at the end, as a little season at the end of the 1,000 years. That's what this is talking about. And when the devil comes up out of the bottomless pit, he's bound for 1,000 years, comes up out of the bottomless pit. So notice that the devil doesn't come out of the bottomless pit until the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, or they're over. So when the Antichrist comes, he's coming up out of the bottomless pit. That cannot happen until the 1,000 years are fulfilled or are over. So the 1,000 years are over because now we're waiting for the Antichrist. He's come up out of the bottomless pit. It's Trump, right? He's going to gather the kings of the earth to the war of the great day of God the Almighty. So we go down to verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. That's the Antichrist, comes up out of the bottomless pit. And the beast and the false prophet and all of that. They come up out of the bottomless pit. That's the great tribulation. Shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Oh, the extremities of the earth. Right? All the nations, China, Japan, Africa, Europe, America, all the extremities of the earth. This is what's going on right now. The Antichrist is trying to deceive the entire world. The four quarters of the earth. And Gog of Magog, which is Russia, Iran, and Turkey, and Egypt, and all of those areas over there. Libya, Put. That is Gog of Magog, who is coming to gather them together to the battle, which is what? The battle of Armageddon. The number of whom is as the sand of the sea, and they went up on the breadth of the earth, to the extremity of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints. Well, where's the camp of the saints? That's where the Lord gathers all these nations around the extremities of the earth to one place in a camp, which is north, that we just saw the location of. We also saw it in Isaiah chapter 18. We saw it in different places. They went up on the breadth of the earth, compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, which is the 144,000, on Mount Zion. And fire came down from deity out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And then you see the great white throne, and he that sat upon it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and the great, stand before deity, and the books were opened. Now there's the great multitude. And everybody receives a judgment based on what they did in their life, whether good or evil. But remember, the 144,000 that remain until he comes, standing on Mount Zion, they have already passed over from death to life. There is no condemnation. They don't get any judgment. So they're not thrown into the lake of fire. So the ones that are judged, they're not written in the book of life or thrown into the lake of fire, which is this great, terrible trouble or the tribulation that we're going through as we speak. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Man, oh man, we went way over today. I'm so sorry about that, but this was information you just couldn't do without, and we had to finish it. So hope you have a wonderful evening. You know, the Lord loves you all. His grace and his peace will be with you all. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.